Now, more than ever, the word home has taken on a new significance. Our homes have become our workplaces, our schools, our entertainment hubs, and our personal sanctuaries. At Dwell with Dignity, we bring a sense of home and safety to those who have never had it before. Join us as we talk to designers, artists, and creatives about what home means to them, how they shelter and style, and why giving transformational design to those less fortunate is so important. I'm Ashley Sharp, and this is Dwelling Well. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of Dwelling Well. Thank you so much for joining me again. My name is Ashley Sharp, and I'm the Executive Director of Dwell with Dignity, and I'm incredibly honored to have such a talented individual with me today. He is a great friend of Dwell with Dignity. He's an advocate in the community. Please join me in welcoming Eddie Maestri. Hi, Eddie.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Ashley.
Hi there. So, Eddie, you have been a wonderful friend of Dwell with Dignity. Not only were you a thrift studio designer, but spoiler alert, next year you're going to be the art chair for Thrift Studio. So how did you first get involved with Dwell with Dignity?
Oh gosh, so I have of course heard about it over the years through all the designers, and of course, seeing all the great things that you guys are doing, and was so excited that we were able to be a part of it last year. It was so much fun, and also getting to know so many designers through the process was great.
Awesome. So you are kind of a Renaissance man, if you will. So not only do you do architecture, but you also do art and design. So I'm kind of curious, which one came first? How did you get started in this industry?
So I actually got started with art first. I was always super involved with art as a kid, all through high school and college. And my love for art and drawing is what got me really into architecture. I wanted a creative field to explore. And I think it all, in a lot of ways, is all encompassing. It all goes hand in hand.
I think that's so neat. So by loving art in the process, you somehow became an interior designer, which I think is so neat. So when did you first realize that you had a gift for design?
Well, as a kid, my parents built a house when I was 5, and I just became obsessed with the entire process. And my mom was a teacher by profession, but probably should have been an interior designer. She was always, really into that stuff, and would take me with her everywhere when she would be picking out things. And I really became interested in it, and how, you can change your kind of visual world that you live in with, different tweaks and color and fun things. And when I started drawing and started doing art classes as a kid, I always ended up drawing, architecture and buildings and houses. And that's kind of how it came about.
I think that's so neat. And you're a father, you have 2 boys. Have you seen any inspiration in them as far as art or design goes?
It's funny. So one of my boys is very into art, and he only wants to draw animals, and he's really good. And it's more, caricatures and kind of silly. And then my other son, they're twins. He is my mini me. He wants to have a say in everything in the house, and incredibly observant. Can tell if I move something barely. But he's now getting really interested in the same things that I was interested in as a kid. He loves to draw buildings and architectural features and bridges, and look at books about different things like that. So the funny thing is, he's the one showing the interest, and the artist in the family, he has no interest at all.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Have you noticed, because I know you guys love to travel, have they started picking up on any international kind of styles or inclinations? I know that they love to go and try new foods, but is there anything new style-wise?
Absolutely. And, it's funny, we'll see something like a building or a house or anything, and they'll pick up on, hey, that reminds me of, the architecture we saw in, Japan or any of the places we've been. And it kind of takes me aback at first, but then I get really excited that they're keeping it with them.
I love that. And I have a 3-year-old, and so his entire room right now is dinosaurs, which I know is a phase. So
We
what
have
do
a
your
lot of
sons
dinosaurs.
want? Yes, dinosaur
A
phase.
lot of dinosaurs. Yeah.
So do they have, any input in what they want to see in their rooms? Or I know as they're getting older, do they want a more grown-up vibe in their rooms?
Yeah. So they share a room right now, and we are in the middle of moving to a new house, and they're gonna have new rooms, and they both have very different things that they want to see. Um, Ethan wants his room inspired by Japan, which is kind of funny. And he's obsessed with Godzilla and all of the Japanese art with the big wave and everything. And Elliot really just wants animals. We're doing a giant cheetah mural on over his bed because that's his favorite animal.
Well, and so what I love is that they already have this passion for art because they've grown up with you as their dad. So as an artist and as an art representative, how do you go about picking your own pieces for your house? I mean, you see so much art every day.
Yeah,
What stands out to you?
it's really interesting. I like so many different things. For me, when I pick art for my house, I have to have an emotional response to it. It has to remind me of something or bring back a memory of some sort. So my art taste for my personal house is very eclectic. We try to buy pieces when we travel, and it's nice to have a memento of our experiences and kind of bring back those memories. And I find that the other pieces that I buy, they remind me of something either from childhood or um, a place that I've always wanted to go or something like that.
Well, and you are a very snappy dresser, if I may say so. So how does your personal design aesthetic relate to your interior design aesthetic, if at all?
Well, I would say on my personal style at home, I want something again that kind of feels like home. I tend to do a very eclectic and collected look in my house. I love things that are handed down from generations or have a story or I like having even something in my house that let's my mom comes over, brings out a response in her. So I think that for my house, I definitely do a little bit more mismatch and just things that I love, and I tend to change it out quite a bit and put things away, take it back out, and try to kind of change it with how we live in the house and how we feel.
Well, what I love about that is nothing's too precious. You don't get too staid in your ways, and
Right.
everything's kind of fresh, which I think is so great. I think a lot of times people put something in their house and they say, this is it. This is where it lives, instead of saying, okay, well, that was fun for a moment. Let's
Right.
try a new moment.
Right. Because the reality is you're going to live different in 6 months to a year. And I think if anything, the past few months have shown us that. With officing from home for a while, we got really creative with moving furniture around and creating little, impromptu Zoom call spaces, and things like that. And then surrounding those in that space with things that we like.
Well, and how did that work with the boys? Did you have to homeschool and create spaces for them too?
We did, and that was very interesting. And thankfully, we're very lucky to have grandmothers come over and help out with schooling. So we were able to kind of stay in our offices during the day and work. But it was something that had to be very versatile. I mean, they took over the entire kitchen was their classroom. So
That's so funny. So which room do y'all tend to gather in together as a family? I know some people love to be outdoors, some people love to be in the kitchen together. What do you guys like?
well, it's been a lot of different things lately. I think that we're really enjoying our outdoor spaces more than ever. Even though it's hot, I find that, we've been eating outside more. We have a, small porch in our house with a couple of love seats, and that's been our hangout spot for the most part, aside from our, main family room. We've really enjoyed it.
I think that's so great. So I know that you're moving right now. So what space are you excited about in the new home? Do you guys have outdoor spaces there too?
We do, yes. So our new house, we are most excited about the backyard. It's something that we've been wanting for a while, was a bigger yard and kind of creating outdoor rooms in that yard. So that is our most exciting spot in the new house, as well as the back porch.
I I think that's so great. And I mean, I know that Texas is hot, but I agree. I think it's so great to be able just to get outside a little bit, and especially with kids, they can get some fresh air and some space. So I love that. So
Thanks.
your home is super eclectic and creative, which I love. So what piece have you had the longest that you kind of brought with you through all of your moves?
You know, the piece that I've had the longest is, oddly enough, a lamp. And
Okay.
I got that when I bought my first house. My mom gave it to me as my housewarming present. And even though it probably doesn't fit our current style, it has to be there. It reminds me of how proud I was when I got my first house and excited my family was, and that experience of buying it with her, and love having it.
I love that. So I just moved into a house recently and my mom bought me a mirror. And it's one of those things that it's going to go with me forever because
Yeah,
she was so proud. And I love that that's something that's kind of stayed with you. Did you
right.
have a
It
lot of,
has meaning.
yes, absolutely. And did you have a lot of say in your room growing up and what it got to look like?
I did actually. I remember my mom taking me, when we were picking out, of course the 80s was a lot of wallpaper, and I got to pick out what I liked, but of course she had final say. And aside from that, not a whole lot, but it kind of stuck with me. I had the same room from, 5 to 18. So
Speaking of wallpaper, is wallpaper back again?
yes, a lot. And we are having a lot of fun with it. Especially at the new house, we're having a lot of fun with this kind of a 70s modern house, and I've loved actually uncovering during the renovation, behind mirrors, layers of wallpaper from over the years. And one of the things that we're actually doing in the studio is we're developing our own wallpaper line with some of the artists from the gallery, and we've had a lot of fun with exploring different patterns and it's all trial and error. Some things jump out at you the first time and they're like, oh wow, this is perfect, and some of them are like, no, that needs work, let's keep going.
So how do you use wallpaper nowadays? I'm terrified of it. So do you use a little of it or a lot? What's the new vibe?
I like to use it just as a statement, but I've done it on ceilings, the back of cabinets, just an accent wall, even if there's like a little niche or nook, I think it's fun to find a little spot for a pop of a pattern. It is always nice.
So are your clients nervous when you suggest wallpaper, or are they all on board?
I think people are coming around to it more and more. I know a few years ago when we started kind of wanting to use it more and more, we got some pushback, but I find that now almost every single project we have wallpaper somewhere.
I think that's so neat. So obviously you've done a ton of projects all around the city. What has been one of the most memorable pieces or installations that you've done?
Oh wow, that is so hard. I think oddly enough, one of the most memorable installations we've done was with Dwell with Dignity. I think because we were able to do something that we really probably wouldn't have done for a client, but just have fun with it. And that was a lot of fun, and that was very memorable. Another one that we did that stands out to me was one in Forest Hills. We had a fantastic client who just let us go with it and do our thing. And that was, it's very rare to get that, to give us so much leeway, and it just turned out amazing.
Well, and I think that's so important is to have a rapport with the person who's working on your home, because
Right.
if they understand you and you trust them implicitly, then you can go so much further. And your thrift studio space was amazing. That velvet couch, and you had so many details in there. So do you normally have a very layered approach when you design a project?
We try to. I think ultimately we would love to have a very layered look and a lot of pieces incorporated. And I think the reality is that a lot of clients do interiors in phases. So it doesn't happen all at once, or it kind of trickles in, which isn't always a problem, because we do like a space to feel collected with things that they love, and that does take time. We often tell clients, it's never finished. You're going to constantly have your space evolve around you and with things that you like and you bring into the space. And I think, with our vignette at, Dwell with Dignity, it was, we just pulled in everything that we loved into one space, and it just worked really well. And it was fun. It was very, very collected and eclectic, and had a, kind of a little bit of a hodgepodge feel, but it just worked.
Well, and that's kind of Dwell with Dignity. I mean, to a T, everything is kind of collected and put together, and it just works. And I love that vibe. It's not too precious or planned, but it feels really organic in the end. Right.
And I think, for our space, we wanted it to feel like an experience. And, the whole inspiration for ours was, kind of 1960s Milan. And I think it worked. It felt a little bit like a hotel feel. And, when we were there, we had several people walk up and say, wow, is this supposed to be like a hotel lobby? And I'm like, yes, that's exactly it.
So is that in your future? Are you going to start designing hotels next?
I would love to do that. That's something, we've talked about amongst ourselves in the studio quite a bit, that we would love to do hospitality. It'd be so much fun.
Well, and I love hospitality because the scale is so different than at home.
Yeah. And you can go more bold. I think you can go a little bit more, cutting edge and not so, what you see every day. And I think that's always, kind of the push with hospitality, is you want to do something that no one's seen before and kind of be cutting edge. And I think, a lot of times residential clients get a little bit nervous to do something that they might not have seen necessarily in, their friends' homes.
Absolutely. So when you are shopping for a project or for yourself personally, where do you go? Do you start small? Do you go to the big manufacturers? Where do you like to go shopping?
I really love shopping, thrift shops or, different places in the design district that have old pieces. I like for pieces to have a story and to feel old. And of course I'm not opposed to shopping, even at Target. I mean, I think it's just whatever works is fine. But for me, I like to start with, vintage shops and play, things that have kind of a patina. I love that.
Well, and I think it's so great to give new life to something that's already been, and there's a history and there's a story. I think a lot of times people think, okay, well, I need to go get X, Y, and Z because it's expected, or it's, I don't know, more prestigious in a way.
Yes, I agree.
But there's something beautiful about something that's been dented and scratched and then loved by you or by your clients.
And I think it's important to have a balance. Of course, you can't have an entire room filled with vintage things, or it feels like you just moved the shop to your living room. But I think, having some things mixed in, it's nice. It's nice to have a mix.
Well, and something that you guys do that I think is really brilliant is that you are never afraid to change something up. So whether it's a new fabric or a coat of paint. So how do you go about making those decisions, and where do you learn to be comfortable trusting yourself in that process?
I think, we will see something that we like and have an idea of, looking at a new fabric or paint color or finish and say, hey, let's try it. And I think that in that sense, you kind of go out on a limb sometimes. You just kind of have to try to go with it and pull it off and hope it works. And I think a lot of times it does. And then you have to not be afraid to admit when it doesn't and say, hey, you know what? I tried this and it doesn't look great. Of course, you don't want to do that with, super expensive pieces, or you'll have some very unhappy clients. But I think that, that is one of the things that I think a lot of designers do, is you start trying it a little bit on your own and in your own space, and say, hey, do I like the way this looks? And I would say most of the time that we try something, at least in our house, I like it. And then sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of over it. Let's get rid of it. But it's just fun. And I think it should be fun. That's, picking things for your house should be a good experience, and go out on a limb and make a statement.
So let's talk about your husband's design aesthetic. So is it similar to yours, or have you guys had to learn how to compromise?
I would say, we've been together for 15 years, and I used to complain when he didn't care, which was a lot of it, and now he cares a lot. And I'm like, wow, I'm really paying for it now, because he'll have an opinion or not like something that I'm drawn to, and it's been fun, and I think it makes it more of a challenge. We had to go through at least 30 different tile samples for our kitchen backsplash, and finally picked one, and I was like, okay, as long as you like it, I'm good.
I think that's so funny because you grow together, but you also come from these like very specific preferences. And so you have to figure out how to compromise. And there's some things that are super important to them that you just don't know where that came from. Like the backsplash, like how was that important to him?
It was very important, and I was surprised, but I was like, I'm gonna let you have this one, So, but I would say, in all reality, for the most part, he lets me do whatever I want, and usually, unless it evokes some strong feeling either way, he won't say anything.
That's so great. So does he share the travel bug with you?
Yes. We both have always loved to travel and to get away, even if it's just a road trip somewhere, for a short weekend. We love exploring.
I think that's so neat. So do you guys pick up items for your house while you're out traveling? Do you
Always.
find pieces?
Yes,
okay.
Always. And, I would say a lot of our travel experiences are based on, food, and me wanting to go to design stores and look at things and draw. And I love to sketch while I'm traveling and learn about, new architecture that I've never seen, or whether it's, in Texas or abroad. I mean, just I think that's what makes architecture and, designers better what they do is exposure.
I think that's so neat. So where do you like to shop? Is there a specific city that just inspires you? That's somewhere that you've been with the boys? Or do you like just to shop around the United States? Where's fun for you?
Everywhere. I would say, I had a great shopping experience in Stockholm, and also our last trip to Seoul. There were so many beautiful things and different ideas and textures, and I really love textures and the way that different materials cast shadows, and so everywhere, really. I mean, I think I've loved exploring different cities and just getting to know what they have to offer. And it's so hard to find even where to look. It's almost like you have to get to know it and then go back.
So where would you like to go back to that you've been?
I would love to go back to Stockholm for sure. And we have just completely fallen in love with Japan. Would love to explore more of Japan. And also just, France. I mean, I'm not really, my personal style isn't really very traditional, but I had a great time last summer exploring different brocants and finding interesting pieces there too.
So where's next on your list to go?
Oh gosh. Well, the recent events have kind of put a damper on a lot of things, but my kids have been begging me to go to Rome, because they've been learning they were in first grade this past year. They learned a little bit about different things in Rome, the Trevi Fountain, and of course we're building a lot of Legos and all of that. So that's where they want to go next. That's probably going to be our next trip whenever we can go.
I think that's so great. And so what advice would you give to people right now? We're in this very interesting transitional phase. So what can you do to make your house feel more like a retreat, an oasis, somewhere that you can relax when there's so much uncertainty in the world?
Well, and I think the biggest thing is to have your house reflect who you are, and who your family is. And I think that, surrounding yourself with things that you love and bring, good energy to the space and remind you of good times is very important. I think that some of our clients have even done, what would have been a formal living as the music room. And, it's a place that can be casual and have guitars and violins and all the, those things out, and just things that make you feel happy. I think that's really important. Spaces should be lived in and enjoyed. And I think it's really important, more than ever right now, to enjoy your space and to fill it with things that bring you joy.
So what advice would you give to people who are looking to discover their own style?
I think you have to go out on a limb and try things. I think don't be afraid to try something that you really haven't seen before and get creative, and don't be afraid to fail at it. Sometimes you might try something and it doesn't work, and that's okay. But it kind of allows you to explore that creative outlet and see what to do next time. And I think it's good too to mix things in that you might have had put away in a closet for a long time. Bring it back out, see if you like it. I know shelving is always so hard people to style, but that's one of those things that I think should change over time. It should evolve, and that's something too that people can start to rearrange and put things out that they love.
I love that. Well, thank you, Eddie, so much for joining us. I have loved getting to hear more about you and your family and your design. Is there anything else that you want to say?
No, I don't think so, but I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about everything.
This is so great, and I'm just so grateful for everything that you've done for Dwell with Dignity. You've been such a great friend of ours, and I'm incredibly excited to continue to work with you.
Well, thanks, Ashley.
So everyone, this has been Dwelling Well. My name is Ashley Sharp, and I've had the wonderful pleasure of speaking to Eddie Maestri today. So thank you so much for tuning in. I am so excited to continue to share these amazing episodes and creators with you. Until next time, goodbye.